Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. Going to talk about Princess Diana, Princess of Wales. Much loved figure in her time that she was. I was born in 1980, and I kind of grew up with Princess Diana in a way. Um, my mum was a big fan of her at the time, and the royals sort of back in the 80s and the 90s were a lot more sort of prominent in society than they are now. The death of the Queen, to be honest, has lost a lot of favour. Like with the royals, people aren't a big fan of Charles as they were the Queen, and the sort of the monarchy and what people think of the monarchy over time has diminished, to be honest. And then maybe even this incident of Princess Diana's death in a tunnel in Paris on the 31st of August, 1997, was part of sort of the royal family's demise in the public's eye as well. This incident at the time, I remember it very clearly. To be honest, I remember waking up in the morning and putting the telly on, and I was only 16 at the time, and the news was breaking that Princess Diana had died, and I ran downstairs, and because it come out of nowhere, because she died in a car crash, and I'd been in bed, obviously, and there was no sort of illness or anything. It was just sort of woke up in the morning, Princess Diana's dead. So I ran downstairs and told my mum and dad, um, because well, actually, no, I told my dad actually because my mum and dad were divorced at that point. I kind of feel, for some reason, thought I was younger than I was there when I was sort of thinking it, but I was 16, so if it was 1997. So it must have been just my dad. I told my dad, and I remember it was a shock to the nation. It was it's one of these incidents where I've said before that like bit like Southport in a way that people come together over grief, and in this world, it's something we do best, to be honest. Come together over grief, and the grief of the entire country when Princess Diana died was intense. To be honest, it was intense, and the amount of flowers laid outside the palace was amazing. To be honest, it was amazing. She was a much loved figure. Seemed she wasn't really a part of the royals as such. She was married into the royals, and she seemed like the warm-hearted royal, very much so. The Queen, over time, and as she got older, people, I think people started to look at the Queen like the grandma because she got real old. That's the way I look at it. It's that as the Queen got older, people really started to look at her like she was the grandma, and think of her as like an old sweet woman. When in reality, I don't think the Queen was that, and she was apparently very harsh, and a lot of people say good things about her, but I think they kind of have to. Like she was the queen of the entire country, and believe me, you could be beheaded, be still probably by her. She just doesn't, she didn't exercise that power anymore. So you've got to be careful, really, because as much as people think these people are just for sure, they also have a lot of power within the country, and it's for instance his Majesty's government, His Majesty's armed forces, Royal Armed Forces, Her Majesty's Navy, Royal Navy. So for people who are just figureheads, apparently that they've got a lot of power. I think it's just hidden a bit, to be honest, in this day and age. So, don't get me wrong, um, I'm not well, it maybe isn't at the same time, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not like the ultimate authority on it or anything, and there could be just sort of figureheads now, and it is. But to me, it looks suspicious there that they possibly still do control. But in order to not get any beef for anything that ever goes on, then you pretend that you don't control. Is kind of how I look at it. But anyhow, Princess Diana, much loved figure, died in a tunnel in Paris in 1997. There was much suspicion surrounding her death, partly because she semi-predicted it would happen. I think her butler as well also claimed it would happen, and she was a marked woman, so to speak, because she was, of course, married to the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, and Prince Charles, as we know now in modern times, he never really loved Diana. He was very much for Camilla all the time. He was kind of, well, Diana even called herself the Windsor Brood Mare, and she was in fact just employed in a way to give birth to William and Harry. Harry might not be Charles's. There's a debate of whether Prince Harry is actually Hewitt's son, and the hairline and hair colour might suggest there's something in that, but they claim it isn't. But Princess Diana was known to be having multiple affairs, as Prince Charles was having an affair with Camilla. And a very good series, to be honest. He's on Netflix called The Crown, which is all about the royal family. It's a really, really good series, to be honest. I wasn't really a big fan of the last series. When sort of Princess Diana died, that was sort of me out of the series in a way, because I kind of know what happens with the royal family after Princess Diana died. I've been alive for this period of time. So I watched it mainly for it started off with the old king, and then the passing on and the coronation of the queen, and it was a run through of the history of the royal family and sort of what happened for maybe the last sort of 100 years. But up until Princess Diana's death, I didn't really know it. But after that, I did. So I only really watched it Princess Diana, and I thought the actors and the actresses in the series, they weren't as good. I really thought the actresses in the first 4 series, it changes every 2 series, I believe, the actors and actresses, as everybody gets older. And the first two set of actors in the first 4 series were brilliant. I thought were brilliant. They all played it well. And in the new series, Princess Diana was played really well by the actress who played Princess Diana. Although I think they maybe changed her to another one for her older, and I think the younger one was really good, and the older one was maybe not quite as good. But anyway, The Crown on Netflix is a really good series about the royal family. Whether it tells the total truth, that's another question. But it is just a good dramatisation of the history of the royal family. If you haven't seen The Crown, which is on Netflix, I'd give it a watch, especially if the royal family's history interests you. It is pretty accurate. There may be things missed out in there, but it is accurate in terms of what it tells you, and a good series. But anyhow, so Princess Diana died in the tunnel in Paris, and there was a lot of suspicion surrounding her death at the time. And on Netflix, sorry, no, on YouTube, there is a documentary called "The Unlawful Killing: Was Princess Diana Murdered?" Full documentary. Now it's on the channel Real Woman, Real Stories, and I believe the documentary was done by Lily Allen's dad, Keith Allen, and whether I mean, I never look at the people telling you the information really to start with. Look at the information, and then if you can find holes in the information, look at the person, but look at the information first. I mean, I'll even listen to David Icke, to be honest. You know what I mean? I'll listen to David Icke and Alex Jones and see what they've got to say. But if they start going on about lizard people and stuff, I'm tapping out. Do you know what I mean? But I will listen to your information. And David Icke, to be fair to him, has got a good a good piece on Princess Diana's death and how the conspiratorial piece, obviously, and maybe some of the things involved in the death. And I think, to be honest, it's a long time since I've heard it, but I think a lot of it's right. A lot of it is right what he says, if not all of it. I don't know. I can't remember. It's a long time since I watched it. But a lot of what he said is right, and there is a lot of suspicion around Princess Diana's death. And was she murdered? Was she murdered? And reasons for that at the time were due to her wanting a divorce from Charles, and she was seeing, of course, Dodi Fayed, as it says down here, the son of Al Fayed, who used to own Fulham. She was seeing Dodi Fayed and pictured with him in Paris on the yacht in Monaco, possibly, I believe. And yeah, they've been photographed together multiple times. And the rumor in the back wings or the public, it was she was murdered because there was no way the royal family would have the former wife of the future king running around with a Muslim and possibly having a Muslim child. And not being racist myself, this is just what was said at the time. And that basically, like, it wouldn't be accepted that the future king of England could have a Muslim brother. The king would be, as the queen was, head of the church, the Christian church, I believe, or um, Church of England. So yeah, it was all sort of this was being said at the time, and Princess Diana was having an affair. It looked bad on the royal family, and all this was this. It was all being said. It was all being said. It all got said when she was after she died. Whether it was true is another matter, but this is just what was being said in the background, and particularly that she was pregnant, possibly pregnant to Dodi Fayed, and that was then again what I was saying about the brother, the king, the future king, the head of the Church of England having a Muslim brother, and this was sort of being said everywhere, and not necessarily that bit by the public. I think this was maybe mentioned by some conspiracy theorists, but there was things in the background being said as to why the royal family would murder Princess Diana. Now, this documentary here by Keith Allen, again, it's a long time since I've seen this as well, but I remember when I watched it, I thought it was very interesting, and I thought he kept it pretty factual, and I believe it to be more what was said in the Crown Courts of Justice. And see, there's a problem you've got as well. The trial or the inquest or whatever you want to call it for Princess Diana was held in the Royal Courts of Justice. Now, if the conspiracy is correct and it was the royal family that had her knocked off, so to speak, by MI5, then holding the inquest in the Royal Court of Justice is a bit of a conflict of interest in a way. It's not really going to be fair. Already you're in the courts of the people who supposedly have murdered you. These courts, the Royal Courts of Justice, serve the royals. That's in the name, the Royal Courts of Justice. So would the Royal Courts of Justice ever bring the royal family into light to what they've done? So it wasn't really fair to being held in England. It wasn't really fair to being held in the Royal Courts of Justice. It should have probably been held in France, where she died, and yeah, and I mean, there maybe was one in France, maybe a bit like the Jay Slater case. One was done in France, but when they bring the body home, we do one as well because she was high profile. It went high profile. I'm not sure, but by by logic, and if this was murder, you would suggest that the British government would have stopped the French government doing so and would have removed the princess's body from France before they got the chance to do so. This is all probably possible, to be honest, because of the power of the British government and the king or the queen. And you would imagine that the body was removed from France and brought home, and not allowed to be looked at by anyone medical in France in terms of the coroner, if you'd murdered the woman or if something had foul had gone on or whatever. But you could just claim royal blood. You're not allowed to see her, whatever. You know what they're like. So royal protocol or whatever. So I'm not sure, but he maybe would say in some of these documentaries. But just a very interesting subject to me. I mean, I can maybe play this documentary in another video and critique it, and go through the information and we'll see what we've got and what was said. I'll play a little bit now. I am sitter. I'll never get that. My husband does this. This is a letter from Princess Diana to somebody or to someone. My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure, and serious head injury. So yeah, I believe that was a letter that Princess Diana wrote, possibly to her butler. So in September 1997, Princess Diana's funeral was held in Westminster Abbey, where on April the 29th, 2011, her son William married Kate Middleton. Yeah, that's the thing. This woman, who was a very loving mother, and everyone could see that, and the royals were supposed to be very cold, and the Queen was very cold to Charles. And they get nannies and people to look after people, as these people do, and the Queen, the Princess Diana was a very loving mother, and William and Harry have lost. I remember at the time. I remember thinking at the time, because I was very much the same age as William when it happened. I believe me and William are of a similar age, and you kind of put yourself in people's positions, and the loss of your mother when you're 16, and well, my mate, the one who went eventually killed himself at 21, he lost his mother when we were 15 and when we were at school, and it was a very weird time for us all when his mother died. Again, it was like when he died at 21, we didn't really know what to do with it, to be honest. It's it's kind of like, it's horrible, it's grave, but it's not you, it's not affected you, and at that age you just don't have the emotional faculties to not only express everything but like take it in and understand. It's weird. You don't know a lot till you're in your 30s, if you ask me personally. But anyway, William and Harry lost a mother, and a very, very loving mother, and these people could be different people today. They had Princess Diana not died, and them been took under the wing of the royal family, who were known and said to be very cold. So yeah, the loss of a beautiful woman, but she seemed very beautiful inside, and done a lot for charity, and was a big campaigner against landmines. And a rumour was that the Queen had a lot of shares and was actually the major shareholder in the company that made the landmines. And the reason that Princess Diana was on such a crusade against these landmines was because the Queen was the major shareholder in the company that actually made the landmines. And that was a very strong rumour that was at the time as to why the Princess Diana went so strongly against the landmines and the landmine campaign that she had going, and it was secretly, she could never say it in public because it would be very, very detrimental to her, as eventually she found out. Messing with the royal family was very detrimental to her. She never actually said anything in public. She just had this major campaign against landmines, and the rumor was, as I've said, the Queen was involved in some way. Whether that is true, I'm not sure, but that was a rumor of the time. So yeah, in September 1997, the annual funeral was held in the Westminster Abbey, where her son was married. He insisted on Westminster Abbey and not St Paul's Cathedral, where his parents were married. So again, he was very much old enough to remember his mother in a very strong sense, I would believe, at being sort of 15, 16, 17 when she died. And yeah, Harry probably slightly less, but he probably still believe he wasn't that young. So they probably still remember the mother very much, and he wanted to get married where she was buried. He gave his mother's engagement ring. From the loveless, ill-fated marriage to Prince Charles, he used his mother's engagement ring. He said, "It's my way to make sure my mother did not miss out on today." This is all the scenes prior to them getting in the car, coming out of the back door of the Ritz, where they tried to sneak out due to massive media attention at the front of the Ritz. They come out of the back door and tried to sneak out. I'm not sure who the people are. I'm not sure if that's the driver. Obviously, that's Princess Diana, and maybe Al Fayed's behind her. I'm not seeing him. I'm not sure this could be a security officer. Hold on. The unlawful killing. Yeah, so I believe.
Joint 32 Red.
Advert McFly. I believe it's called unlawful killing because that's actually what the jury of the Royal Courts of Justice, actually the verdict was from the jury, and um, within minutes of that being said, the press span it that it was meant that basically the paparazzi had killed this woman and she was unlawfully killed by the paparazzi. But I believe this documentary goes on to tell you that this is not what the jury was saying. That the jury was saying she was unlawfully killed, but they did not ever at any point say it was by the paparazzi. And a lot of evidence would suggest, I believe, again, you'd have to watch it, and I maybe might watch it and critique it. A lot of evidence suggests that she maybe was murdered, and not murdered by a car crash or paparazzi flashing and driving too close to her trying to get pictures, by some sort of British government involvement and cover up. And yeah, there is certain things in there that are very, very dodgy, and obviously we've already seen there she actually wrote a letter, I believe, to her butler, saying that Charles was going to kill her in a car crash, and it's very suspicious to me, very, very suspicious. It was very suspicious at the time, and a lot of people at the time, even before any conspiratorial videos were made, the whispers on the street were that she had been bumped off. And there was an incident with the Queen and the flag, and the Queen didn't put the flag up, or at half mast, I believe, is what you do when someone dies. They didn't do something with the flag at Buckingham Palace, and there was public uproar, and eventually they done what they needed to do with the flag, but it was because of public uproar, and because I think Princess Diana and Charles were divorced at that point. The Queen did not see her as a royal, and basically wasn't going to put the flag at half mast or put the flag up. I can't remember which it was. And there was public uproar. There was public uproar that she wasn't going to do this, and this kind of showed the face of the Queen to me as well, in a way. This cold woman that she was known to be, that was covered over and hidden, and she was not. It was pretended she wasn't this cold woman. It was pretended she was some sort of like sweet grandma, when in fact she wasn't. She was a cold, harsh woman, and this, in a way, at the time, kind of proved the woman. And it was public uproar that eventually changed the amount of flowers that were being put outside the palace. Was an indication of the public's feelings, and the backlash, it was building, to be honest. It was building over this flag issue, and because in a way it's very easy to either put the flag up or put it at half mast. Again, I can't remember which it was, probably at half mast. It's a very easy thing to do. You send a man out, you pull a wire, the flag goes down, it's a mark of respect, and the Queen didn't do it, and people were getting pissed off, because to do it is a very easy thing. It means a lot to the people who like Princess Diana, and in a way it showed the Queen's hand for me. It showed the Queen's hand. She eventually done it, but it was because ultimately she knows there's more public than there is royals.
1997, the death of a princess and her lover rocked the world. 10 years later, it led to the longest, most expensive and most sensational inquest in British legal history. hundreds of witnesses were called. There were arguments, lies, tears and accusations, as intimate details of their private lives were dissected on the world stage. Yet before the court case had even begun, the media had already decided what the verdict should be. However, in Britain and around the world, millions of ordinary people were convinced, and after the inquest still are convinced, that the deaths of Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed were no accident.
Yeah, this is the thing. It was the whispers of the time when it happened, and everything that was going on between them in the background, and it was being printed in the papers, and the affairs, and then even sending a letter of saying that Charles was going to kill her. Yeah, if there's a lot of people still to this day. I mean, I still think myself. I mean, we'll go through this and we'll see what we think. But myself, I still think she was probably bumped off by the royal family.
I think it's murder.
Murder.
It was murder.
For me, I think it was a murder. Murder.
In my opinion, there can be no doubt that she was actually murdered.
When the woman
The people of the world.
left a note saying, FYI, if I'm dead, here's how it's gonna happen, and then it happens exactly like that, I think someone should pay attention.
I mean, I just know our initial reaction was, well, they finally killed her. Because we're used to it.
I think it was murder.
If you go to a bar, you'll find three people who go, ooh, but the royals did it, didn't they?
Oh, of course Diana was bumped off. She knew she was going to be bumped off.
I wasn't sure if Diana's death was an
This is Keith Allen. It's Lily Allen's dad, if you know Lily Allen is the singer. I believe he used to be a singer himself, and possibly done the is it him that done Vindaloo, I think, which is possibly one of the two most famous English football songs, The Three Lions and Vindaloo. I believe that was Keith Allen. So he's been about. His daughter's famous, and despite his past and his history, that's not really what's important here. What we're talking about is the death of Princess Diana in a tunnel in Paris and the evidence surrounding what happened. So let's forget for a moment Keith Allen and if he's got any previous history of any bad kind. We're just going to look at the information. It happened to be him, I believe, that made this documentary, though, and it could just be because he is a firm believer that Princess Diana was murdered. So yeah, forget Keith Allen, but that's who he is, and let's just look at what's said in the information.
accident or murder, but I suspected a cover-up by the British establishment, an elaborate exercise in burying the truth rather than uncovering it. I suspected a conspiracy, but this isn't just the old story about a conspiracy before the crash, it's about a conspiracy after the crash.
We all know that the biggest scandals are always the cover-ups. I mean, it isn't the Watergate, it's not the break-in, it's the cover-up which is the big scandal.
When you have the head of the British security services calmly announcing we have never killed anybody in the...
Here's Piers Morgan, and looking a bit younger here. So he's just about to say there, you had the head of the British thing agency saying we've never killed anybody. Well, that's total bollocks. Well, in the entire history, in World War II and everything, yeah, we've definitely killed people.
In the last 50 years, I laughed out loud. What's the point of them then? I didn't believe it. And so if you don't believe that, where does that leave the rest of the establishment evidence?
I decided to watch and wait, then tell the story that the press and TV news wouldn't tell. The result is a documentary that reveals what really happened during those 6 months in the Royal Courts of Justice. It is the inquest of the inquest. The royal family likes to present itself as part of a benign and freedom-loving tradition in films such as The King's Speech. As you will have gathered by now, this film is the antidote to The King's Speech. The inquest was held in the royal family's own court, so is it any wonder that the coroner, the royal representative in charge, decided that the key royal suspects need not even appear at the inquest to be questioned?
Right from the...
Yeah, so there you go. It's in the Royal Court of Justice. I believe that the Royal Court of Justice cannot prosecute the royals, and they are in fact in charge of it. And yeah, they weren't allowed to be called as witnesses, and yeah, it was held in the Royal Courts of Justice. So already you're on bad footing here, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'll leave it there for part one. We'll go through this, but it's very suspicious to me, right from the off here, you know what I mean? You've held it in a place that's pretty much corrupted towards you. And yeah, are you expecting a fair result from that? Right, I'll leave it there for part one. Peace.